You are listening to the Pencil and Paper Podcast Network.
I'm Katrina, and I love anime.
I'm Steven, and I'm aware of anime.
But what if that affection could rub off?
Perhaps that excitement in her eyes got me curious.
I could offer up some solid anime.
I could give them a watch, just to see what all the fuss is about.
And maybe, just maybe,
I could learn to love anime too.
welcome to Inspired by a Weeaboo. Hello everyone, and welcome back to Inspired by a Weeaboo. I am your host Katrina, and with me is my husband Steven.
Hello.
We just finished episode 41 of Fullmetal Alchemist. Steven, what did you think?
I'm starting to have issue trying to understand how in the hell we have 9 more episodes to go. 10, 9 episodes to go, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've got 51 episodes. Maybe it's 10 at this point. I don't remember. It's 50 or 51. Point being, everything has been ramped up. Everything is starting to just unfold quickly. And I'm just really confused. How in the hell do we have this many more episodes when everything seems to be falling apart at the seams?
Yeah.
I mean, this was like full blown, not a moment wasted in this episode.
Mm-mm.
So it starts off with Scar showing Ed like a mass grave. Well, I don't know if you call it a mass grave.
It was
not
a mass grave in the sense of one big hole with a shit ton of bodies, but a mass grave in the sense of it is literally like hundreds upon hundreds of headstones that were all the people of Liore.
And he was pretty much trying to point out what the military's intervention caused in Ishbal.
That it wasn't technically an intervention at all, that they used it as a disguise of an intervention because there was a quote-unquote revolt, but in reality they just came in and slaughtered everybody.
And he's just like, this is what I'm trying to stop. I'm trying to prevent. You have to understand. And I mean, it's a great way to kind of drive your point home because it's happened before.
Yep.
And he tries to use this also as his reasoning behind what he's trying to do. He's like, I don't want this to happen again, and I'm going to end this tyranny once and for all, so, stay out of my way. And whether Ed takes that in stride or not at this point is just kind of like, well, I mean, he doesn't want to admit he's right.
Yeah. Because
he has a better heart than that. But at the same time, it's hard logic not to defend. So anyway, back at the military outpost, we see that Marta's corpse has been removed from Alphonse, and Havoc, Hawkeye, and his gang are kind of around. They're questioning Armstrong about the chimeras, and I can't remember why they were targeting him. I remember he was at Laboratory 5, was it not? Didn't he go?
Colonel Armstrong.
Yeah.
It's because he's under new management, and because of the commander that he's under, he's basically not able to tell Mustang certain things, and he's also kind of having to like cock block Mustang and them.
I do remember that. That's Archer, right?
Yes.
Yeah. That's right.
And yes, Armstrong was the one who kind of uncovered a lot of the shit that happened at Laboratory 5 and all that kind of stuff. But yeah. So basically, he's in a position where if he was to tell Mustang and the rest what was going on, the chances of them all being taken out in one fell swoop is, greatly escalated, as opposed to just staying silent and having to, kind of look like he's betraying his friends while also kind of working in the shadows to help them.
Right. So they're kind of having a little bit of back and forth with all that. And then, as you said, Armstrong's kind of can't really say too much. Back with Scar, he's
Mm-hmm.
telling the people not to put up any kind of resistance against the military. He just go about your business. Don't provoke them. Don't do anything. Have them make the first move, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
Ed, on the other hand, he's kind of listening from a distance because he's kind of being held captive at this point.
Yeah.
And he's, I don't know, just mulling over in his mind what he thinks is right or wrong, and the guards are, how dare you? You don't know anything, and he's just like, yeah, whatever, it doesn't matter. Which I'm kind of like him. It's like at this point, you're already convinced of what you're gonna do, so what's my word gonna matter?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna say what I'm gonna say, and it doesn't matter. So anyway, they're using Rose as kind of the holy mother of this whole thing to kind of get the people to follow along and to rise up and kind of follow her. But again, he's kind of muttering to himself about it all. Liore shows up and he kind of notices something about her stench. I remember, like she said, you can't bathe.
Asked her, he asked her if she was wearing perfume, and she kind of makes a face and then responds to yes, because bathing is, a luxury they don't have. And he talks about how it's kind of making her nauseous. And there is another episode that was, back when we saw her with Dante, where that exact type of subject was brought up. But I'm not going to say anything because they'll kind of touch back on it again.
Yeah, I found it to be an interesting point to bring up.
Well, that's kind of why it was pointed out, because it was alluding back to that other episode. But again, I don't want to say something and then,
Yeah. So I figured there was a reason behind it, like why it was brought up. But I just kind of footnoted it, and I was like, well, I guess it'll come back around.
Yeah.
Like most things in this show do.
Yeah. It's all one big circle.
Anyway, they discuss everything that's going on. Lyra acknowledges that Ed doesn't want the military to be sacrificed, so he convinces her to let him send a letter to Al. And so they send some little, I guess just some kid. He wasn't nobody important. I just one shot of him running, the next shot he's like passed out and off in the back, and I was like, all right, I guess he's nobody. So he shows up, and Mustang's unit pulls Al into their little quarters where they get the letter, and they're learning about Scar's plan to pretty much turn the city into a big transmutation circle. So they're trying to discuss what their plans are going to be, and Al puts together that the military soldiers are going to be used as sacrifices because he knows how everything works. Mustang's unit kind of seems a little surprised by this, and they kind of deduce that this was probably what they were trying to pull off in Laboratory 5. So they're trying to work out what their plans are going to be, and Al is given the order to go back up Ed, and even given his pocket watch that I do remember. And this kind of came back in play where his pocket watch had been tainted with some Philosopher's Stones. So there's something to I was trying to remember why they did that to begin with. What was the reasoning?
Well, we didn't technically know that it had the Philosopher's Stones in it.
But we knew that they had tampered with it.
We saw
Tucker.
Well, Archer.
Yeah, Archer
took Ed's watch, said that he couldn't have it on him for, because when Ed was going into Liore when Ed was going into Liore disguised,
right.
Archer said, don't take your watch because, if somebody sees you, then they're going to know you're a state alchemist, blah, blah, blah. And he takes it, and then as Ed's leaving, you kind of cut away, and then you see Archer bring it to Shal Tucker and says, I have another one for you. And, so at that point we knew, obviously, he was going to be doing something to the Alchemist watches. Now, one can assume, given, the way that everything is working, that obviously those weren't put in there specifically for Kimbley. However, Given, how the Ishbalan War went down,
Hmm.
I would imagine that they went about it a different way in the sense of instead of giving all the state alchemist rings this time, because remember when they were giving them to him before, they were just like, oh, this will amplify your power. They did not know how much it would amplify. They did not know how strong they were going to be and how devastating it was going to be. So this time it's almost like the military was like, you know what? We're not going to let them know they're going to be this ungodly strong. We're going to put it in their watches. And then that the watch already amplifies their alchemic ability. Well, now it also is even more amplified because of the Philosopher's Stones inside of it.
Gotcha. Okay. So we cut back to Liore, and Kimbley has shown up with Tucker's new Chimera army, which I got to give him credit. He's kind of perfected his technique because they look a lot more animal-ish.
Animal, and the one can talk.
Mm-hmm. So I feel like he's nailed down his Chimera process.
Mm-hmm.
So they pretty much start to attack everything, and Scar kind of hears that all this is happening, so he reveals to the resistance that this is probably nothing more than a diversion and that people are going to be coming after her. So stick to the plan, don't do anything, and everything will be just as he predicts, or at least as he thinks. But during that time, he lets Ed go and tells him that he wants Ed to take Rose and Lyra out of town and get them far away. And hopefully, just clear out so he can do his business and they'll be safe and everybody will be fine. But obviously, it doesn't matter to Ed because he said that he's already sent, or admits to Rose that he's sent a letter to the military and let her know that, they can leave and get her to safety, but it's not going to matter because the military's not going to show up. So, this is all moot. But as the troops arrive to the outpost, Archer is disappointed that Bradley is deciding to delay the attack. And in another secret meeting with Lust and Gluttony, Bradley admits that his reason is due to their master's order. Now, we have not heard about their master, and I'm starting to deduce who I think that's going to be.
Okay.
Do you want me to say? Because there's nobody else that I can think of that it would be at this point in time.
Okay.
Based on everything that I know of all the characters. Have we met this character yet?
Yes.
Oh. Well then, shit. I'm not sure then.
We have technically, yes, technically we have met this character, but not in not the real them, I guess it would be the way of saying it.
All right. Well, I'll bite on that for a second.
Okay.
Because I'm
okay. Who did you think it was?
I think it's their father.
Oh. No.
Okay. Well, then if I'm wrong, fine. Okay.
Now he does have a major role and kind of goes hand in hand with their master.
Okay, well then don't say too much more because the only reason I even thought that is because again, we're nearing the end. You said we're going to meet this man.
Yes, and
he's
we
never
still
been
haven't
anywhere,
met him.
and then now they're talking about a master who I was like, okay, so there's somebody else. So it's not him, it's not Pride. So who the fuck else would it be? And that's just where my mind went. I was like, well, it's got to be their father. So if it's not him, okay, then we'll bite that down. So that was my assumption at this point.
That's where I thought you were going with it, and it makes me giggle, and you'll understand when we get to Brotherhood. Because again, he's not, the bad guy, but you'll understand when we get to Brotherhood.
Okay.
Why I giggled.
Well, anyway, against Pride's, or Bradley, however you want to put him, I guess he's Pride. But Lust decides she's just going to go back to Liore and help Scar, and leaves Gluttony behind because he's scared. He wants to go, but he's scared.
Yeah, poor Gluttony.
So as the people are running away from Kimbley, who's just on a murdering spree, like the dick he is, Scar finally arrives, like blows all the Chimeras straight to hell, and then confronts Kimbley. Now, I was excited as hell to see these two go at it, because I was hoping it was going to wind up close to the way it did, and it did, or at least close enough for me to be happy about it.
Yeah.
So anyway, he remembered, like, they both remember one another. Obviously, Kimbley's just like, oh yeah, I remember that handiwork of mine. Did that to your face. And then Scar just decides that he's gonna, he declared an oath previously, which I'm assuming was to Ed and Al, that he was not going to kill another state alchemist. But obviously, Kimbley would be an exception, which I'm okay with. You know, yeah, I know that Ed would probably be like, no, don't kill him, whatever, because reasons and whatnot. But I kind of feel like he'd been like, well, maybe this one, and then we'll give it up. But they start going at their battle, and as they're fighting, Kimbley has a red, like the ring with the Philosopher's Stone, and as they go to punch one another, the stone is then absorbed by Scar's arm, and they're just like, whoa, okay. So then they start, or Scar realizes what's going on, that arm is his brother's arm. So he kind of puts two and two together on that. Now, Ed, Liore, and the townsfolk are trying to head to the underground tunnels, and they decide that if Scar fails, they know that they're going to have to find another way around the military, because shit's going to hit the fan pretty bad. But Ed's just like, you know, the military is probably going to cover up the shit anyway, so it doesn't matter. And they're going to do whatever they got to do, because they tried and failed to create a Philosopher's Stone yet again. And that's when they are attacked by Sloth and Wrath. And Ed and Wrath fight for a bit. And this little shit, I forgot how vicious they are.
I mean, they really do kind of get their sin names, like, honestly.
Yeah.
Because Wrath is very, like, fucking just angry. Very angry. I mean, the next one you could say probably has that anger, or that level of anger, would be Envy. But even Envy, it's only at certain points, and it's when a certain person is mentioned that he gets that, or that they get that angry.
Right.
But Wrath, yeah, no, that little fucker is angry 24/7. He's just a little shit.
And as they're fighting, Wrath kind of gets the better of Ed for a moment, but right before he goes to try and kill Ed, Rose's baby starts crying, which sends him into a frenzy of, please make it stop, please make it stop. And he tries to charge after her and the baby, but then Ed stops them and summons his spear, and then tells them to start running off, but then kind of mentions something about the weakness business, but then Wrath states he technically has no weakness, because he was the body, the thing that was kind of used to create the homunculi itself, so technically he has no weakness, because he is the thing that he would be weak against.
Yes.
So,
his entire body, like, his entire body went into the gate.
Right. So there's nothing left behind for him to be afraid of, or to be weak against.
Exactly.
Technically. But the baby thing, they haven't touched on that. So I'm anxious to see the next episode. Why the baby crying, like, triggers
because him. Like, because as you see, when the baby cries, he has those flashbacks, because he remembers not so much being transmuted, but he remembers the point from being transmuted to being put in the gate. He remembers his mother putting him in the gate. He remembers basically that fucking horror, and then being trapped for years upon years upon years. So while he might not have a body, a baby crying, that would be, I guess you could technically say, that would be his first memory. Him screaming and his mom basically letting him go.
Okay.
So
I
it's
can see
very,
that.
very traumatic. And it's like what Ed kind of points out that the human remains do to the homunculi. It reminds you you're not real. So it's just that whole traumatic type, slap in the face that the homunculus all kind of get when they're confronted with it.
Fair enough. So, as we kind of go back above ground where the fight is still happening between Scar and Kimbley, Al shows up into the city. He sees them fighting, heads over to try and help as they're fighting. Kimbley says, or they kind of have a little back and forth. Scar's trying to declare why he's going to kill him, and Kimbley's just like, I don't really give a shit what you're after. I'm just killing. Practically just said just because. Doesn't he doesn't really give a shit.
He's a psychopath.
Yeah.
So he's just killing to literally kill. He's a maniac.
So after they have that little back and forth, Kimbley is then caught off guard by a big stone hand created by Al, trying to hold him down, and Al kind of calls him out for being a murderer, tries to tell Scar that he needs to chill out, you don't need to be doing this. But then obviously Kimbley takes this distraction to get away. He pushes Al aside, then transmutes Scar's arm, the left arm, the one that's not the brother's arm.
Yes.
And he says that it's pretty much going to explode. So, I got you. But then Scar then removes said arm.
Yeah.
And then charges straight forward to Kimbley and just throws his fucking arm straight through his chest. And I was like, yeah. I
wouldn't say it's so much the arm through the chest, but it's the transmutation of... I feel like it would be about the same type of, that type of superhero force of, if he had that strength, yes, I'm sure it would have been the arm through the chest, but it was more the alchemy. But yes, the same type of effect.
I mean, you saw, it almost seemed like his chest exploded.
Yes.
So I was just, however it went down, I don't care. He killed Kimbley, and I was like, yes, thank God. Finally.
Well.
That's just me.
I know.
Fuck Kimbley.
I know. Fuck Kimbley, but he didn't technically kill him.
Well, in the moment, it seemed like
Yes, in the moment, it seemed like Kimbley was dead. But like a cockroach.
Well, during this time, I think I forgot where this happened, but the pocket watch that Al had was then pulled from his pocket. And this is when Kimbley got back up. Is he grabbed the pocket watch from Ed and throws it at Scar.
Al.
From Al's. It's Ed's pocket watch. Al had it.
Yes.
Kimbley takes it from Al. He then throws it at Scar to hold him back, and he transmutes Al's body into a bomb, or at least that's what he says he's going to do. Now, as he threw the pocket watch, the stones came back out and he absorbed the stones.
Yes.
Scar did.
Scar absorbed and they were rather large stones that he absorbed in it, so.
But that's where they left us with them. So there's cliffhanger number 1.
Yep.
And we go back to the sewers and we see Sloth has appeared and pretty much let herself be known to Ed, throws him off because she's like, why did you let me die, son? And he's like, what? No. Freaks out, goes into panic mode, allowing Wrath to pretty much turn and make his attack. But as Ed kind of screamed in terror at his mother becoming some phantom, because she turns all wispy and shit.
Well, watery.
Watery, wispy, it doesn't matter.
No, her element is water.
Okay, well, she's formless and, tangible.
Yeah, or her power is water.
Yeah. Anyway, Rose hears it. She runs back. She even starts muttering a word. And as she runs back to stop Wrath from stabbing Ed in the back because he picked up the spear and was getting ready to just jam it directly into his head. Rose screams at Ed to get up and move, and then the baby starts crying, which triggers Wrath again. So they do this. I knew they were going to cut it off right there because the way they were doing it, it was these still images like, and that things were about to happen, but they weren't going to play them out in full.
They are like very, like not even freeze frame images, but like extra taken time to just stress how serious it is.
Yeah.
Or how shit is about to hit the fan type thing.
Because Wrath leaps with the spear toward Rose.
Mm-hmm. And the baby.
And just like, rah, and freeze frame of that. And then we see Ed turn around and leap after him.
So we get freeze frame of that.
And then freeze frame of Rose.
Yeah.
So we get all that, and then they cut it off. And I was like, God damn it. I knew this is where we were going to get it to be continued.
But that's okay, because we can just watch the next episode.
That's right, we can. And all of you can do the same, I guess, if you can find this show. See, if you think about it, that's one of the good reasons we're recapping this, because if you never got a chance to see it, we're giving that to you now.
Or if it's been so long since you've seen it because you can't find it anywhere, and you just remember watching it as a teenager or a young adult or even a kid,
and you probably watch it on Toonami or something like that. That's the guy that did the voice. That was
Toonami was freaking amazing.
Watch Fullmetal Alchemist on Toonami. I'm Peter Cullen. You may know me as Optimus Prime. Sorry. Once I get a voice going, I can't help it. I got to do it. I was doing Jimmy Stewart earlier. Just do you want to hear Jimmy Stewart talk about Fullmetal Alchemist now?
I mean, I just like hearing him talk in general.
Yeah. So it's about these two boys, you see, and they're learning this magic, you see, and it's called alchemy, you see, and I think they killed their mom, you see, and then they tried to bring her back, and it didn't work, you see, and so now they're trying to figure out how they can bring her back. You see, and there's other military people in there, yeah, and it's a pretty good story, if you pay attention.
To sounds the real like you didn't pay attention.
No, but there's things that happen, and I'm trying to remember it all. My memory is not what it used to be. Yeah. Anyway, sorry. Hey, so I guess I'll wrap it up unless you got something else to say.
Yeah, no, I'm ready to jump into the next episode because we only have like a few more episodes before we finally get to see their father.
And how all that goes. So just because I was already doing it, what should I do? Jimmy Stewart or Peter Cullen telling people where to get all their stuff?
I don't know.
I guess I could do both.
Oh, Lord.
Let's see. How could I? So I'll split it up. So here. What is this radio program we're listening to? So what you need to do if you're listening on your radio, because this radio program, so you find it on whatever station you like, you see, because we're on all the stations, you see, and you find it on those things, and you tell your friends that they can find us on those radio stations as well. And then if you like it, give us a 5-star review. Okay, Peter, you go ahead and you tell all the people where to go and where they can find stuff. Well, thank you, Jimmy. Sorry, I'm amusing myself with this more than anybody, I'm sure. As he said, you can find us on all podcasting platforms. And if you want, go to patreon.com/Pencil Paper Productions to support the show. And finally, pencilpaperproductions.com/inspired Weeaboo. Links are down below. Thank you. Sorry. Okay,
you just gotta let us go with Autobots out.
Autobots, roll out.
Fuck yes. All right. We'll see you next time.
This has been a Pencil and Paper Podcast Network production.